Hey, welcome back to another Wandering Us episode. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the interior pull handle that we're going to be adding to a Tab 320. Probably would work on a Tab 400. We ended up replacing our door lock shortly after we got it with an RV lock, which I've been really happy with so far. I think the functionality is pretty cool. Some people have not liked it so much, but we'll give you a full report on that once we've had some time to play around with it. But what I want to talk about is when I've encountered an issue when I go to close the RV door. Sometimes, and it's probably going to work right now when I do it. Oh, there it is, twice. Sometimes we really end up having to slam this thing home. And, I've checked level. My family was in construction. I work in IT. I'm a pretty OCD sort of guy. I checked out a lot of stuff, including I've actually removed a strike plate temporarily while I fill in some aluminum holes, and I actually moved a strike plate down and all that stuff. But even then, it's still doing this. So when I bring it to the service center, they might be able to look at it and tell us and change it. But in the meantime, I wanted to be able to have a way to grab from the inside and really be able to pull it closed. Because a lot of times you're in a campground, it's late, you have somebody next to you. I really try to be a good guest. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and I really don't want to be slamming my door if I don't have to. And then the other thing is, I thought, well, in a big wind, having the wind grab the door, how would I really hold on to it? And on the RV locks, they do have a lever section where you put your fingers to pull it shut, but it's a heavy duty plastic. But it has some flex, and I'm afraid that if I pull too hard, I might end up either cracking it or bending it or doing something. So I've been really thinking for the last couple of weeks, what could I do and how could I put a lock inside? Now, as you guys might know or might not know, that this door is pretty much two pieces of, maybe aluminum, fiberglass, plastic material that has a piece of foam sandwiched between it. And it's a really well-built door, and it has like an aluminum frame. But, if you're going to try to drill something in there, any type of handle, the screws are going to just pull out. And unless you're going to put a plate on the other side to hold it, it's going to look ugly as sin. And let's be honest, we bought our tabs and our tags because we love the look, and we really don't want to gum it up, which comes back to the OCD part of it. So I came up with an idea where I measured between the bolt holes, and I found out they were 3 inches on the screws that were built in. So I went to Home Depot, right? Go to the box stores, go to Ace Hardware, look around, but everything was either too big, too small. I didn't want it to look like garbage, right? So I started Googling on the internet, and I found a place that actually made these really cool little hand wrought like window sash pulls, right, for old houses. And it just so happens that hold a hole that's 3 inches, which should match up with what's on the door. Well, you can't just put that against the door because either A, you're not going to be able to use the handle, or you're going to end up screwing it with your fingers every time you do that, right? So I don't really want to hurt myself on vacation either. I get plenty of chances to do that when I'm at home. So the next thing I did was I figured out that if I took a stainless steel threaded rod, this is a 3/8, and it matches the same thread as my door lock, so it just depends whatever the screw is that your door lock uses. I would take your screw to the hardware store, and they have these little displays, and you can kind of test a nut, and you can find out exactly like what thread count, what size screw you have. And I found out mine was this 8x32, and so I got a stainless steel one just because I'd rather spend a little extra money when it's something that might rust. I don't want that. And then what I did next was I found this neat little aluminum spacer. It's actually a threaded spacer. So my plan was, I was thinking, how can I do this? I ended up cutting the rod to about 1 inch, and I'm going to get this on video, but I ended up screwing one end in here, so kind of permanently, and leaving 3/4 of an inch, which is the length of the factory screw, right? So I want to have the same strength. By connecting it this way, what we're doing is we're using the door handle system itself as our leverage, and also making sure that we don't pull through. You still want to be careful. I probably wouldn't like stick your foot against the wall and start pulling on the handle. That's probably a bad idea, and probably somebody's foot is stuck in the door, hence the reason it won't close. So we have this interior, and then I found this really awesome stainless steel, I think it's a 1/4 inch on this one, spacer, and both of these are 1 inch because I wanted an inch standoff from the door to put my fingers through, and they just happen to fit perfectly together. And just gives it that nice extra look, keeping things stainless steel, even though there's some black, but you know, stainless steel and black look good together. And yeah, and so we're gonna put this together, and we're gonna see how it works out. So let's see what the final product looks like. Okay, so we have basically created a our own kind of screw. It's the threaded rod on this, the threaded spacer on this side, the threaded rod on this side, so that we can actually screw, if I can get it, I'm trying to run away, we can actually screw the actual screw from the door in. You see how we're kind of doing that? And then at some point on the other side, we're going to be adding that spacer in. Okay, so I'm going to do a close-up of the door so you can kind of see me putting the whole thing together here, and then we'll test it out and see if it worked as well in my head as it will in the real world, which is usually the litmus test of anything. So give me a second and I'll get a better close-up on the door, and let's see what it looks like when we're done. All right, so what we're going to do here is we've already done the bottom. We're going to do the top. So we're going to remove the factory screw, or the screw that came with RV lock here. Once again, it could be a different thread, different type of screw on the one that comes from New Camp, or whoever happens to make your RV door lock. Okay, that. Here's the other piece. So we're going to take this piece that we created, and we're going to put it right back into the thread, just like we're replacing that screw. I like to kind of hand tighten it a little bit. It's a little slippery, you know, because it's aluminum and there's no real grip. If you have to, you can actually end up putting the original screw in, and it'll help you screw this in. So we're going to kind of do that on here because it is really slick, and you know, I could use a plier, but that might mar up the finish, and I really don't want to do that. It's important when you're doing projects like this to take your time. Sometimes you can get really frustrated with things. You can get frustrated with, you know, how it's coming along, or it's not working out the way that you think it should work out. Go get a cup of coffee, go drink a beer, whatever it happens to be. But if you're gonna drink a beer, don't come back and use power tools. I guess it depends how many beers you have. So we have these two pieces in here, the two studs. And what we're going to do is we're going to now take our stainless steel spacers. You don't need these. It holds together just fine. But what I like about this is it actually, it thickens up. And I did check that with these in here, that the door was still fully operational. That's something that you definitely want to check. So nothing's getting in the way. Everything opens properly. I took my flashlight here and I shined it and, you know, looked at the clearances to make sure nothing was going to rub. I should probably leave that light on there, huh? Let me try that. Oh, let there be light. And then we're going to take our door handle and our two original screws here again. Now, I was saying before, you got to take your time, especially when you're working with things like aluminum, fiberglass, foam, any of those things, because if you end up stripping something, the repair can be very expensive. I mean, I guess you could always find a nice picture you like to put over the top of something, but I think it's a little bit better and a little bit smarter just to take your time the first time. Now, I love it when a plan comes together. So this is actually the first time me doing this. And so those holes are exactly 3 inches, which match what the door is for the RV lock. Now, back to the thought I had that I was trying to say a million times here is, don't over tighten when you're dealing with this stuff. You want to be very patient. I would even use the word judicious about how much force you use, because once you ruin the thread on something, it can be very expensive to replace. And even on your screws here, you don't want to over tighten them because you can end up stripping the threads, and then that kind of sucks. Now, I don't know if you can see here. I'm going to try to get a little bit of a close up, but oh, there you go with the light. So yeah, I could put my fingers in this way. That'd be kind of stupid though, because but it gives me a way now, a very nice grab, so that if the door's here and I now want to pull it closed because I want to be a good neighbor to my mates over there, I can pull it closed. And if the wind's pulling that day, now I got a place to put a couple fingers here, and this is super rock solid right here. I'm really happy with it. Well, that's the project. I think it worked out pretty well. Look, if I move my head down here, you can even see, look at that. Very happy with how this turned out. Very solid, good quality, matches the Amish workmanship that is New Camp. And so I'm very pleased with how this project turned out. And it is a little windy here, and my wife just came to the door a second ago, and I actually have to take my son somewhere. So it's a good thing I got this project done with you now. Otherwise, you'd have to wait to see how I finish putting it together, and that would be horrible for both of us. But great project. I'm going to, in the description below, I'm going to leave some of the parts that I used for this particular project, and I got some many really cool projects that I want to work on, and I want to invite you along with me. And if you have any suggestions, comments, thoughts, I'm always happy to learn. One thing years ago I learned to check my ego at the door. I know I don't know everything, and I know that there's more than one way to skin the cat, even though I'm a big fan of the cats. But thank you so much for coming along on this little adventure with me of putting in this cool door handle. And I look forward to seeing you on the road or in the workshop again. And till then, I wish you happy trails.